Hello and welcome into Farrington Stadium. I'm Michael Barron with Cronkite Sports. ASU fell for the first time this season 3-2 to Boston College. It was a close game throughout, and despite a seventh-inning comeback, the Sun Devils were not able to take home the win. ASU softball head coach Tricia Ford spoke after the game. Two guys in particular, Lucas Felbel and Jordan Gluck. Let's start with Felbel first. Last season played 17 games and owns a 1.91 goals against average. I really look for him to do a lot of great things in the crease this year. I think he's going to be a really great goaltender for ASU as they try to make a push to the playoffs. And then let's go to Gluck. Through 2 years here at ASU, he's owned a 2.00 goals against average, and last season had a .948 save percentage. I really look for numbers like that again this year. Welcome into Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Michael Barron. He's John LaValle. So, John, we're talking ASU football. They lose last weekend to Washington State, 37-32 at Sun Devil Stadium. What can you tell us about the loss? So we always do this with football, but I'd like a score prediction. Oregon versus Arizona State. Who you got? So there you have it. It could all depend on who starts for the Sun Devils. Be sure to catch that game this Saturday in Eugene. ASU moved up in the ACHA rankings from number 8 to number 2. You know, I was talking to some of the guys after the game this weekend, and they were telling me that a lot of people had written them off at the beginning of the season. A lot of people had doubted what they would be able to do. Well, with this win over Minot State, the number 1 team at the time, I think they are starting to turn a lot of people's heads, and many people and teams are starting to take note of ASU. Well, I honestly think it's senior leadership, in particular with Michael Cummings and Ryan Ostertag. You know, in particular, these two individuals, not only are they bringing experience from the ACHA, they are also bringing experience from the NCAA level as well. I really like what these guys bring to the table as sort of the senior offensive catalyst for this team. I think it's going to be really important, though, for the younger players on the team, especially those who want to be on that NCAA level one day, to take advantage of this valuable learning opportunity. Despite the Suns' season concluding on April 11th against the Sacramento Kings in California, veteran point guard Ronnie Price said there are positives to take away from the season. Gosowich has played virtually his entire career in the Valley, including right here at Packard Stadium for ASU. But the former Sun Devil said his favorite memory of his MLB career was the day he was promoted to the majors. As March turns to April, we are well into the Pac-12 conference baseball schedule. Taking a look at the calendar, outside ASU facing Washington State, Oregon travels to Palo Alto to battle number 3 Stanford in a 3-game series beginning tomorrow night. The Cardinals are the only undefeated team remaining in the conference at 3-0, while number 1 Oregon State and number 15 UCLA are right behind them, both at 5-1 in the pack. Speaking of the Beavers, they're in Salt Lake City taking on the Utah Utes, while UCLA visits Cal. Finally, the Huskies are in SoCal for a 3-game set with USC. And that's all for this segment of Impact. Now back to Andre and Jack at the desk. The Texas Rangers have several notable players on the roster. One who would like to join this list is Joe Jackson. Jackson is working his way through the minor league system in the hopes of one day fulfilling his baseball dreams of playing on the big stage.
When I show up to the field, I look at the lineup. I get mad when I'm not in the lineup just because I want to play every day. Like, that's just how it is, you know. You go to work and it's like telling you can't work that day. You know what I mean? I want to be consistent from start to finish. That's always the goal for me.
Jackson attended college at the Citadel, and coaches admire the attributes he brings to the Rangers.
You think of discipline and accountability and character and all those things. Like he's up front with all that stuff. So he's a guy that you battle for. He's a guy you play hard for. He's a guy that you come to the ballpark ready to teach and look forward to being around.
One of Jackson's positions on the field is catcher, and despite having the ability to play multiple roles, pitcher Ryan Ledbetter notices how Jackson is the ideal pitcher's backstop.
It's great to have a guy who knows, who wants the best for you when you're pitching. That's the guys you want to throw to, is the guy who's back there and understands what kind of pitcher you are, and then therefore calls a game around you, not his own game.
If the name Joe Jackson rings any bells, you're onto something. Joe Jackson is the great-great-grandnephew of Shoeless Joe Jackson, who played for the Chicago White Sox and is infamous for the 1919 World Series scandal. Shoeless Joe, along with 7 other members of the White Sox, were accused of throwing the World Series. They were acquitted by a jury, but were banned from baseball by then-Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis.
Unfortunately, Joe got caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Honestly, we may not ever know. Like, he told the family he didn't do it, and it's good enough for me, and I believe him, and I'm trying to go out there and make a name for our family, kind of restore the family name a little bit in the right way, but also make a name for myself. I don't want to be like just Shoeless Joe's nephew, or like, I want to be like my own player, and I want to make it for myself as well as much as my family.
Joe Jackson comes from a baseball family. There's a history already in place, but as spring training rolls on, Jackson plans to continue cementing his own name in the family legacy. For Cronkite News, I'm Michael Barron.